Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines with conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds. Yeah, it's the meeting of the minds. Meeting of the minds.
Welcome to Meeting of the Minds. I am Selah V, and today we are talking about get better and not bitter. Before we jump in, I'd like to introduce our guest to you today. We have Bianca Neal, author, also artist and entrepreneur. Thank you for being with us today. We also have a musical artist, Mookie, and also Legend, and they are also a couple and also are working on an album together as well. And they've already done multiple songs. They were a guest on my radio show with DJ Slice on Wednesday nights. Yeah. So they got to come on that show, and that's how I met them. And so we had a great conversation afterwards, and I'm like, okay, Meeting of the Minds, let's do this, right? So really, Meeting of the Minds, let's do this. Today's topic, as I said, is get better and not bitter. So bitterness, right? Bitterness is something that can settle. I think bitterness comes from betrayal the most. It also can come in from, failure or disappointment, but one of the ones that, it just gets in there and clings is betrayal. That's a really big one. But I've seen people, bitterness take root in their life, Have y'all ever seen bitterness take root in people's lives? What are some, what are some of the characteristics of people that are bitter?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. So when I think of bitterness, I think of sometimes it's internal, sometimes external.
Okay.
So for instance, with bitterness, it could be someone's own expectations and someone's own perspective. I really want to be here and it did not work out for me, so they become bitter.
Yes.
And I think that would look like disappointment.
Yes.
But if it's external, where you're talking about betrayal or just just things just constantly are going against what that person desires to see in their life, or just really sometimes the system does not work for people. And I feel like some of it is or just kind of, it creates a rough kind of exterior.
Yeah.
Heartbrokenness,
yes,
a lack of hope.
That's right.
And then just really
pessimism.
Yeah, pessimism.
Cynical. Yeah. Very, very cynical. Can y'all think of some attributes that you think of people that are bitter? Sometimes, if Oscar the Grouch was suffering from anything, I'm the root of that has to be bitter. Hey, Grouch. Yeah. What's up, Grouch?
Yeah.
So I like what you said. If y'all can think of any characteristics, let me know. I like what you said also about, it could be more than just betrayal. Yeah. It can be, disappointment in what you thought life would be like.
Yes.
And so you keep trying to do something in life and you thought it would be this way. And because it doesn't happen that way, bitterness starts to set in.
Yeah.
Or you expected a job to be a certain way, or for even the workplace to be a certain way.
Yes.
And it doesn't happen like that, and you become very, very bitter.
Yeah.
Can y'all think of anything else that would make you bitter?
Those are all of them.
Pretty much
all of them. Those was pretty much all of them.
So you would have maybe betrayal of a loved one, right? A friend. And I also like what you said about in life, bad things can happen to you, and why did it have to be me?
Yeah.
I hate life, and go ahead. What are you thinking on that?
Well, I was thinking of when you develop bitterness, because you can have bitterness and it could be an act or a time. It could be short-lived. But when you develop a mentality of bitterness, I think it becomes a cycle to where you can't even believe in yourself or believe that circumstances will work out for you. And so I guess it's this cynicism. You think things will go wrong, and then you sometimes act like things will go wrong, and so then people respond to you like things will go wrong. Yeah. And it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I would say it is hard to break through bitterness if it's deep-rooted, and especially if it's long-lived, because sometimes you don't even know that there's something developing or that something has developed. it's interesting. There's like this one part in the Bible where there's like this woman and she's like, her name is, I think it's McCall, I don't really know the name, right? But she, like, David is this guy in the Bible, and he's, like, happy and he's celebrating, and he's just like, living up. And she's just like, you look ridiculous, you look horrible. And then she got cursed. She couldn't have babies or whatever, but no, I say whatever, like it's just a story. Whatever, it's a story. But really,
the moral is be careful on who you clown on.
But if you go back, I feel like the reason why she was bitter was because what happened is David became king. Her father was supposed to become king.
Yeah.
And like, because I feel like if I was reading into it, like it's like her father didn't become king, and then it kind of just changed the trajectory, and then she had to like live with another man.
Shut up, you're not a princess no more. If your daddy was supposed to be king, you're not a princess no more. Life didn't go the way that you thought.
Exactly.
And so, bitterness can set in.
Yeah, and so it's like a disappointment, like this didn't happen, and then this happened. And so it's weird because it didn't work out for her, but then it continued not to work out for her because of her attitude. I think bitterness is like, it's something you can have as a moment or something you can have as an attitude that affects your life.
Yeah.
It's like a vicious cycle of negativity that you call life every day, you know. Some people wake up, I'm sure they just wake up like that, you know. They just, that's how they see the world, through those goggles of negativity, I guess you can call them, you know.
That's what they put themselves around, though. You gotta get the negative out of your life to keep it positive. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody goes through the same thing in different ways. So somebody might be getting chopped up a certain way, like, oh, this person's talking down at me, saying I can't dress right, or this and that. But you can't let that put you down. Yeah. You gotta look forward and be like, oh, I know. I'm like, put yourself in the book to where I'm gonna be better than you. That's like how I tell my kids sometimes, like, my daughter's kind of like overweight a little bit, but all the kids making fun of her. I say, okay, all them kids that's making fun of you, though, are they making good grades like you? You know? I say, okay, well, tell them next time they say something, be like, are you making A's like me? You know what I'm saying? Like, you just got to put it like that. You can't let anybody just put you down like that, because that brings negative energy into you. And that's going to draw you down regardless. So you have to try to stay as positive as possible and look at the people that you're around, what they're doing, what's putting you in that perspective to do what they're doing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever crowd you're around, that's the energy you're around. Yeah. It's going to overpower you. If you're around a lot of negativity, you're going to be with that negativity. And you just stay away from it. So
I really love what you said about the goggles, right? Like, because literally that's what it is. It's like, even if I put on a rose, glasses, I'm going to see everything with rose tint to it. If I put on yellow glasses, everything in life is going to have a yellow tint to it. And that's exactly how bitterness happens in life. I remember one time I got betrayed, and it was so very, 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 very painful. And so and sometimes I think when God positions you to speak to many people or to be a leader, you got to go through pain just to touch it and experience it so that you can speak on it. So sometimes in leadership, you get to go through some extra fun stuff just for no reason, just so that you can have experience with it. Yeah. So I really feel like this was probably one of those things, but I got, a betrayal happened to me, and the first thing that began to happen is that I played it over and over again, and I played it over and over again, and I tried to understand it, and if I could have done it differently, and was it me, or was it them, or right? So that was one thing, is that I was playing it over and over and over again. The other thing, and I think that's a huge part of bitterness, is that, like, so I saw bitterness somewhere online. I read that bitterness is festering resentment, right?
Yeah.
And so it's almost like when you're playing it over and over again, you pour tea and crumpets for it. You know, like you don't be like, okay, that's enough, that's a wrap. You know, it's like it's a festering resentment, and I felt it like it was that way. And so I really feel like inside myself, the Spirit was saying to me that if I let this stay, it'll alter who you are forever. It will forever alter. And so literally I got to take a shower, but I got to experience the process that somebody goes through when they're reaching for bitterness. And I felt it. And then he was like, all right, now it's time to take a shower. You felt it? You see what it is? I'm like, yeah. Because if you don't get it off, you're going to be the girl who you're talking to your coworker, and they're like, yeah, girl, and then he had the nerve, and you won't even believe it, and then he left me for that girl, and they're going to be like, oh my God, when did that happen? And you're going to be like, 10 years ago.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not
you never
trying
got
to be
over
funny,
it.
though. Like,
I know what you're saying. It's interesting because I feel like I'm very practical and logical for the most part, but I've developed a huge empathy for people who have pain,
yeah.
and so I realized that bitterness is really also like, it's kind of like the surface of a deep wound.
That's right.
And so part of helping, because sometimes maybe if we don't have it but somebody else does, part of it is helping them get in touch with what happened.
Right.
And then either helping them forgive themselves or forgive the person who has committed the offense that would cause them or make them feel that they need to be bitter.
Right.
And it's a process. It could be fast. Ideally, it's fast. It's like, I'm bitter. I recognize it. Sometimes people don't recognize they're bitter, and then when they do, they're not willing to give it up. But I was reading this book. It's about like the body and then the way our emotions affect our body, of course. But it referenced, we talked about Jesus and like how he calls us to forgive. But the person was a doctor, and he was like, we should think about forgiveness as a medical need, because a lot of times when we don't forgive, we cause, there's pain that
It manifests
that
in your
manifests in
body.
your body when
Yeah.
you don't forgive, when you
Word
hold
up,
on to
straight
bitterness.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, if not for like your own for relationships, for your own personal health, for your own personal, just for selfishness, you should just forgive.
Yeah.
But I know it's not easy. I've learned that
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's not like something you just tell someone to do and they
Straight
do
up.
it.
Yeah.
But I know the value of forgiveness and what it can do and how it could release pain from your body.
People will be like, I'm not forgiving that SOB. But reality is that it's not for them.
Yeah.
It's not for them,
Yeah.
Holmes.
Yeah.
It's for you, you
Yeah.
know? Like, they're like, those doggone Christians, they're just going to forgive everybody. But it's not for them. I will forgive you for whooping your tail. What you know about that? I'm saying, I will forgive you for having to knock you out. Real talk.
I forgive
But,
you.
yeah. I just want to be clear about things right here. Because forgiveness is for me, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that's so true. Not forgiving the person, can lead to a lot of bitterness.
Yeah.
A lot of anger too.
Yeah.
It can build up a lot.
Explain someone that that's been bitter in their life. What did you observe about them? What did you see about the person that was very bitter?
I have a coworker, ex-coworker, and she was just horrible every day to everybody. Like, she wasn't just mean to one person. Like, everybody got it. You know what I'm saying? So, it's just so unfortunate that some people wake up like that and go to sleep like that every single day. And it's like, I've thought about it before. It's like, it's got to be exhausting. It's got to be exhausting every day to wake up and be in a shitty mood.
Yeah.
And so, like every day, I mean, I wouldn't have the energy for it, if I was always angry or always, bitter and like, it would eat me up inside. And so, that's just very unfortunate that, some people have to deal with that,
Serious. Bitterness will have you like your homie will try to make you feel better, and you downplay everything that they say.
Yeah.
So like they'll be like, this is gonna be great. This is a new opportunity. Well, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see how. No. You do it till you see it. Not you'll see it and then it.
Yeah.
It gets done.
Yeah.
It's that you'll do it till you see it. But literally anything you say, they are the master at being like, well, yeah, it doesn't always turn out like that, Because life has made you cynical. Life has made you bitter. So, but people might be saying, like, you didn't go through what I went through. I have a right to feel this pain. What would you say to somebody that says, I have a right to feel this pain?
I mean, everybody has a right to feel
almost
pain.
everybody does.
Nobody should be denied, whatever process they're going through with dealing with pain and hurt and, stuff like that. But it ultimately, falls on how you deal with that pain.
Yeah.
What do you do with it? Do you use it and it makes you stronger, or do you let it eat you away and you're just that ex-coworker that's mean to everybody?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wish life kind of came with. I mean, it does because the Bible. If you read the Bible, but if you just chilling,
Plug. This is Bible.
But if you but even then, it's like life is hard. But no one really tells you that. Like people just tell you, "Oh, look at this. Look at what I'm doing. Look at this. Look at that." And they don't tell you that life is hard.
Oh man.
They don't tell you that there's going to be days where you're going to have like a really just hard time.
That's
that things
right.
are not going to go your way. They may not go your way for like a whole year or for
Right.
5 years. So they don't tell you that. Most people are not honest, and they don't just tell you life is hard.
True.
No, they
It's
don't.
so true.
And then at the end, the flip side of the coin is some people don't tell you that life gets better, and that there is hope. And so I feel like we need to be more transparent with each other and say like, you know what you're going through is hard, and
Yeah.
life is hard, and that's part of
Yeah,
life.
make them feel better.
And it's not that you're singled out for this one thing. It's like, no, we all go through it. And not to minimize, because everyone's hard is different.
Yeah.
Someone's hard for not getting into Stanford is not the same
Right.
as someone's hard who's not going to be able to eat
Right.
tonight. But they both see it as hard.
Yeah.
And then also like about the right to feel pain. You do have a right to feel pain, but you also have a gift to be able to feel free from that pain.
Like, how long do you want to have the pain? Like,
Yeah.
do you want it to rob you for the rest of your life? Especially if someone was the culprit. Like, if somebody tried to
Yeah.
reach for something that didn't belong to them, are you going to stay stuck at the scene of the crime and let them have the rest of your life too?
Yeah.
Because we can get bitter because somebody didn't protect us. We can get bitter that something happened to us. That, like you said, life is just not going right, you know? And gosh, I've seen that. Any other qualities, like somebody that you like old ladies can get bitter.
Oh yeah.
Oh Lord.
about men?
But have you ever seen like old bitter ladies? Like it's high risk to become bitter as a old. I don't want to be a bitter old lady.
I don't either.
I mean, they must have been bitter throughout their whole life, basically.
Dang.
That's a long time.
Like I'm not saying Judge Judy is bitter because I don't know her at all. I'm not saying that at all because I do not know her. But I just want to say Judge Judy scares the living crap.
But she scares everybody.
Like if I ever had to go on the show, I would maybe pee myself. I'm so afraid of
Like,
her.
this-
All I said was,
this
I'm
good.
afraid of you, Judge Judy. I do not want to go on your show.
That's so funny.
So I'm not saying that she's bitter, but I do know that there's some women that are bitter that do exhibit some of the same similar qualities. And it's I'm not saying that she is,
Yeah.
but sometimes they have that no-ish attitude. So that's the next thing I want to talk about is that you can have people who genuinely love you and want to be around you, but you're so bitter.
I've experienced that. People are
Please.
just like so what I've had, because I've actually had situations where like that, and I've had to just taper like the time that I spent with that person, because I didn't realize like whenever I spend time with this person, like I feel so drained. I feel like life is bad for me, and it's
Yeah, we're
not.
talking about.
And so I was like, you know what? I think I need to like say like, okay, I prepare to meet that person, and then make sure it's a short amount of time, and then give myself space to where I get refreshed and rebuilt, so that the next time the person can draw from me. Because you have to know like what kind of person you are. Are you the person that the person's drawing from, or are they
Or
adding,
giving,
adding to? Like, who are you in that person's life? So it has to. I feel like it has to be planned out, and it has to be prepared for, because you can slowly become and fall into that person's trap. And the truth is, sometimes there's people who develop a mindset, it doesn't matter what will happen, they'll always think something's bad.
Yeah.
And so even if you're like you emotionally want to be that person's water to fill their cup
Right.
all the time,
No.
like that's really not your role, because you keep filling it up, and they're like, it doesn't matter what you do. And they don't
It's
say
a
that.
black hole.
They just keep, So I feel like balance and self-care, and then be able to rejuvenate and then pour back into that person.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And then there's the bitter person that is so bitter that they feel like they are revengeful bitter. So when you trigger their trigger, there's a wrath or a revenge they'll open up, and you'll see samples of it. You'll see samples like, you could like that person, love hanging out with them, and you'd be like, oh, your bitterness is showing, because they'll literally like show, because they've been so hurt, their revenge is ready.
They ready to pop off,
if you do that thing and you rub me a little bit like that one person did me like that, I'm about to like, I'm gonna, and then you're like, I really like you and all, I wish we could kick it, but you need to go work some stuff out. You're volatile, like you're straight up volatile.
Yeah.
And that's I think I heard somebody laughing in the back. I'm not sure, but anyways, we'll find out what that was about later on. But the revengeful, bitter person, that they are just ready, you know.
But speaking to that, I think we also, I'll step out and say, we don't talk about counseling as a real option. Like we just think, oh, it'll go away, or you just talk about it. Sometimes people just need somebody who can professionally counsel and who can help in that role. And I feel like, because if it's like the part where it's like wrath and it's anger and it's out of control, it's like there needs to be somebody. It's like if we have a toothache, we go to a dentist. If we want to learn how to add and subtract and do all these things in school, spell, we go to school. We get a teacher to teach us. We shouldn't be afraid to go to a counselor to help us piece together the things that are going on in our head, our mind, our emotions, our hearts, you know, whatever's going on, to be able to help us walk through those steps.
There's a lot of, you know, people in, you know, especially the POC community that I don't need no quack, I don't need no therapist, but I'm going to let y'all know right now, development is very important to me. To continue to develop and continue to develop. So I got a counselor. I take care of my goddaughter. I got a counselor for her. I got a counselor for me to deal with her. I got my own personal counselor.
You got everything.
Listen, because I've never been a mom. I'm not a mom. You know, like I need her to tell me, am I doing this right? What are you supposed to do? You know, I got a counselor for that. I got a counselor for my dad. I have another counselor for me, and right? My counselor got a counselor.
My counselors do have counselor.
You know, like, for real. I have a counselor in the church. I have a counselor that's in the like health, mental health. Like if there's a counselor opportunity and they got skills, I'm in there. I'm taking all the shame that comes out of it because, and then if you're married. If you're married, you should be seeing a counselor, period. Period. It's like having a car and you never go get a tune-up. Are you crazy? Like, straight up, if you were married, you need to have counseling sessions. Even if things are going well.
Because they might not be.
Because they might not be. The person might be becoming bitter inside.
Yeah, inside, not telling you and just holding it all inside and not telling you. And later on, that's going to be a big problem a year down the road, or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 7, how long it takes for them to tell you. So, I mean, that's how it is. That's how I see it.
So the person is holding resentment and bitterness from something the other partner may or may not be doing, right? And then that partner maybe up and leaves without ever saying a word. And then the resentment that comes on this side.
Leaves that other person
or even, you know, maybe they got, you know, cheat or something. And then the other person that is left behind after that has that resentment. So it's like a big resentment fest. Big pool of resentment.
Big pool of festering resentment.
Festering resentment. And that's exactly the best thing about the best way to, I think, describe you know, bitterness. Bitterness is salty.
It is.
Bitter is salt.
Like there's levels of bitterness. Because you can be bitter in like one area of your life, like maybe you have a trigger. But then like if you're like the whole life, and then if it's like, okay, you go from your whole life to like now you're angry, until now you're just salty with it. You know, there's like, I feel like there's levels. There's levels.
Like being bitter against one man versus being bitter against all men.
Or being bitter against one woman and against all. I'm the only man here now.
But that's a great one that you bring. I have a guy friend, actually, shout out to Jay. He kind of was talking about this on Facebook, and I was like, yo, I want to do a show on bitterness. He was actually supposed to be here. But
don't get bitter.
That's what is real talk. Real talk. I get mad upset when things don't go the way they plan. Dang, you made me, but he was saying that women are mad bitter these days, right? And I think that might be actually true too. I do think that there's a lot of maybe women that are bitter because they've been disappointed time and time again. And like a lot of men will coerce them to come out of their shell and entice them. And the minute that they're like, okay, you're like, boom, got him, right? And that happens over, right? Yeah. But also at the same time, the guy could be like, oh, you're just bitter. And she's just guarding her heart. Like, oh, look at you, you're just bitter. No, bro, I got hurt. So now I have like boundaries. And they'll be like, no, you got your guard up. No, playa, that's boundaries. It's a huge difference. Yeah, it is. And they'll be like, oh, you're just bitter. No, that's not bitterness.
I'm just better at managing relationships.
That's just a challenge for us, man. You gotta build that trust up. You gotta go through it. You know,
build the wall of trust up.
You met that person. If you like that person, you gotta like them for who they are. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta get past that stage that you're talking about, and have them trust you, and you trust them too. And that way, they won't be like that no more.
Straight up. And that's real talk. Because let me tell you, there are good men out there. Because let me tell y'all, when we came out of the radio station, Mookie wasn't even outside, right? And it was just Legend and DJ Slice. And so she wasn't outside yet. And he starts talking about how much he loved his girl. And all this, how much he loved his boo thing. And I was like, oh, you don't see guys talking about their girl like that. You know? And I was like, oh, that's so cute. So get better, not better.
Get better, not better. Yes.
Yep.
You brought up the Bible. Usually when somebody else is bringing out Bible and stuff, I try not to because there's a lot of listeners that we have that aren't. But since you did it, I'm gonna tag along just as okay.
And feel free to read my story. The story.
Trapped. Yeah, you have a book called Trapped.
Yes,
it's Trapped.
So it's funny. So Trapped is really about. It's not even bitter. It's like a combination of everything. It's like bitterness, anger, resentment, unforgiveness, and it's about. Basically, it's like Chronicles of Narnia. It's like not real at all, right? But this person is living in a cabinet, won't get out because they just don't want to engage with people. And anytime someone tries to engage with them, like there's explosives that go off. And really that parallels life. You know, like a lot of times maybe you're dealing with something emotionally, and so you're just like living your life. But then someone tries to enter in, and you're just like, rah, you know, like, get away from me. What are you doing? Da, 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 da.
Been there, done that.
And so it's the process of the person learning to walk out of that. You know, it sounds ridiculous, walk out of a cabinet that they've been stuck in, but it's kind of like what our lives look at when we don't take steps towards getting true healing and finding freedom.
That's real good. That's
See, it could be the cabinet of bitterness that they're hiding in. You know?
Yes,
They need to come out of there.
Anger,
It's real.
No longer trapped.
Will make you fear, so much. And you're always like gloom and doom and things never work out well for me. Yeah. You got to change your talk. Like, things never work out well for me. I believe everything works out well for me. And if it looks like I'm losing, just stay tuned a little longer. But I really believe that. I don't say, man, nothing ever works out well for me. I'm like, everything works out well for me. Yeah. Let's just stick around a little bit longer. I know it looks like I'm losing, but just wait. And, and we confess those things. I don't care what it looks like. It's going to turn to my favor. Or God is using this terrible situation for my good. Yeah. Yep. So we were talking about how I was gonna bring the Bible off into this, and we said that. We said that we said that bitterness is salty, right? Mm-hmm. So there's this part in the Bible, and I feel like I'm about to preach a sermon. Open your chapter. So there's this part in the Bible where Lot is running away, right, from Sodom, right? Yeah. And it's on fire, right? So you can literally imagine, those are, they have to know them. Those are their peeps. Those are probably their neighbors or whatever,
Their neighbors.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, whatever. Yeah. But the moral of the story is that the lady who looks back turns into a pillar of salt. And to me, that means, you got to stop looking back. Yeah. So you won't be that salty. Looking back can make you bitter. When are you going to start looking forward and stop going over the scene of the crime over and over, looking back at what happened, the tragedy of what happened, the violence of what happened. can turn you bitter, right?
Yeah.
And so you can either say to yourself, I'm never going to get over that. No. That's my goddaughter. No. Right? Or you're going to say to myself, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to be free and happy, you know? And people like also think that like the world owes them something. Like this isn't supposed to happen to me. Like, why is it not supposed to happen to you?
Yeah, because no one tells you that life is hard, and no one tells you that things do not always go your way, and so you think, I am the anomaly. Like suddenly
everyone's having a good life.
Yeah, everyone's having a good life except for me.
Yeah.
Like the universe is
That's
just caving
so
in on
true.
you
Yes.
and nobody else.
That's
Yeah,
so true.
and it's a lie.
That's good, Bianca. That's
Yeah.
true. I was at my brother's wedding, and I posted this bomb picture of myself, if I may say it so myself. And,
If it was your family's, I know it was nice.
everyone was like, you look so pretty, you look so pretty, you look so pretty.
Yeah.
And then I wanted to text, okay, now I'm on my way home to cry myself to sleep. I really wanted to, so people could get a revelation, you know, like, it's not... You know, but then I was like, no, because then dudes are gonna be in my DM, and they're gonna think it's an invitation for and so I was like, no. But I wanted people to know, like, you could feel like you're not attractive, and there could be a woman that's way attractive, and y'all are feeling the same exact thing. It doesn't rush who is good for you, whether you have 15 dates or no dates.
Yeah.
You still gotta wait on the one that's compatible just for you, you know? And so, you're right. Like, there's all these fabrications of, you know, only me, and things never work out well for me.
Yeah.
If you ever say things never work out well for me, stop that. Just stop that. Yeah. If you say things never work out well for me, things never will work out for you.
Yeah. I've heard a quote. It says the grass is greener on the other side when you don't take care of your own grass.
Yeah.
Oh, I heard because it's fake. Because that's fake.
No, it's because you're not taking care of your own grass. That's like what you do when you're on Instagram and you're just like, oh, look at their hair. Oh, look at their clothes. Oh, look at their shoes. Instead of going and shopping or going and thinking about your wardrobe or going to think of what you want to do and what you want to plan for your future. You know, if you're investing your eyes on looking on something that's not yours, you're essentially just like glamorizing someone else's life instead of being like, this is my life. How am I going to work on my life?
That's real good.
Yeah.
So you can get bitter, like literally scrolling through Instagram, looking at other people's life. It's really there's a temptation there. I promise, sometimes there's a temptation to compare your life to others. I have a temptation.
Yeah.
You know, all my cousins are married. All of them, you know, have beautiful children. And there's a temptation for me to compare my life. But they're not doing the same things that I'm doing, so what is there to compare, right?
Yeah.
But it could trick you into becoming bitter, but over what, right?
Yeah.
God has a design for my life in particular, right? I had to get a revelation about that. And
it wasn't always easy.
Yeah. And then I started thinking about, like, what happens to your body when you have babies, and I was like, I don't know if I want all that anyway.
So funny.
They told me. Oh, sorry. I touched the mic again. Sorry, Charles. That's our director. Sorry, Charles. Anyway, some things that you could be becoming bitter for, if you have it, it'll kill you or crush you because maybe that's not what you were designed for in the first place. Huh. Bet you didn't think about that now. I'm just joking.
You just dropped it on them.
So what else? What other thoughts about bitterness? Anything?
Well, it's funny. I was watching. Have you seen Brene Brown's new Netflix show?
I haven't, but I
documentary
like
thing?
her. She takes the topic and really digs deep.
Yeah, so she talks about how she was having a retreat with her husband, and somehow she was communicating with him, and he was in the water, and she was like being like open with him and saying like I love you, and he just wasn't responding. And so it kind of happened a few times. Go watch the documentary if you want to, or Netflix show special.
Okay.
But then she broke it down really quickly, where she said, I'm just going to sum it up. You watch it for the details.
Sure.
At the end, she said, when she finally did talk to her husband was like, oh, I was having a panic attack in the water, and I really was disoriented, and I wasn't listening to you. And then she was like, oh, like, so basically, she broke it down. She was like, the story I was telling myself was,
He don't care.
yeah, he doesn't care. I'm an older woman now. My body's out of shape. I'm in the swimsuit. He doesn't love me anymore. And he's just like in his own world having a panic attack. And so I started incorporating it even in my own mind when I'm starting to think like whatever, it could be not bitterness, it could just be anything. And it's like, the story I'm telling myself is...
Oh, Bianca Neal, that is so good.
Thank you. It's from Brene Brown.
But the fact that you bring it up is so necessary at this table. Okay, so let's dig deeper into that, shall we? So, like, a bitter person will, like, let's say they're walking down the hallway at work, right? And the person didn't see them, right? They're like, see, I knew they didn't like me, and see, nobody sees me, or they come up with a scenario. But successful people and people who are healed and not hurt, you know the story that they tell themselves? They say they must be so busy. Maybe their kid is like sick, or maybe they have bills, and maybe they don't like me, you know? But they give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a
killer.
good one.
Yeah.
Bitter always like comes up with the storyline. Like everyone is trying to get one up on you or trying to do you. See, they didn't talk to me. And they got ADD like a mug. They didn't even see you.
Yeah.
See, I told y'all.
Yeah.
They're just trying to ignore me.
Yeah.
She talked to everybody except for me. Meanwhile, she's got gas and needs to run to the bathroom as fast as possible. No, but that's benefit of the doubt. You don't know. And how much happier is your life when you're saying, you know what, I don't know why they did that.
Yeah.
And instead of coming up with a scenario that's going to make me salty, bitter, I'm going to create a scenario like, I don't know why that happened, but they're human. Because we give ourselves like so much space to be human.
Yeah.
And then we give other people's like this much space, you know, to be human.
Yeah.
You know?
We kind of you have to line up what you want to see with your own actions. So like if you're just like, oh, they didn't say hi to me, well then you have to say hi to people.
Yeah.
You know, like a lot of times, even on a different shift, like if I'm like, oh, I just feel like kind of bummed out, right? So I'll start texting people and saying like, I am encouraging you and praying for you or thinking about you. And so I'll send things and then I'll get people like text back like, oh, thank you so much. I really needed that. And then because I did that, I was like, oh, there's some like shared community and like, I'm not the only one who's feeling sad, or I'm not the only one who needed prayer, or I'm not the only one who was, you know, I used my sadness or whatever the thing was at the time to reach out to others, and then I got it back. And so sometimes you have to be proactive in how you carry yourself in relationships. You can't just be on the offensive, I guess. Or no, you can't just be on the defensive. Like, oh, people don't like me, people don't talk to me, people don't do this. You have to be on the offense and talk to people and care about them. And
you are darn good at this.
There's a writer. Do another one. Trap remix.
You are too
That's
funny.
so good.
No, but it's it's hard. You just have to work at everything you do.
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
But that's so good. Like, bitter people are usually waiting for someone else to do that. You know, someone else to take the initiative, someone else to give them a free ride, someone else to help them. Like, why did my knight in shining armor come and save me? It never happened. Why don't you become a boss yourself and save you? You know, so many different things about what you said right there. That was like so good about you being the one. And when you feel like doo-doo, you can always, if you lift someone else
If you feel like
up,
doo-doo, you should doo-doo. I mean, do something else.
Do.
Yes.
Y'all know. Look, if you're feeling bitter,
not
like,
doo-doo.
go hug somebody.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It changes your mood. Like when you're feeling like salty about life, giving of yourself can bring joy into your own life. That's why I think everything is even selfish at the root of it, even when we're helping other people, because it still comes back to you. So cray.
Yeah, so cray.
So wow, this is rich and it's moving quickly. It's like we're sifting. This is like literally emergency room, get rid of your bitterness talk right here. This isn't long. This is like we're plopping people down on the table right now and we're doing like CPR. Let me get the thing. Yeah. For real. Like, because we're sifting through stuff so quickly, you know? Yeah. So nobody here had an abuela that was bitter then?
I don't know what that is. What is abuela?
Abuela,
Yeah.
it's like grandmother.
Okay.
Yeah. Or great grandmother.
Nah. Learn a new word today.
Yeah.
Abuela.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm black. I'm not, Everybody think I'm Puerto Rican or something, but I'm not.
We got all that melanin in here, so it's hard to tell sometimes,
That's so funny.
So, yeah.
No.
So no one has a...
No.
Yeah.
I'm thankful that no.
My grandma wasn't
Nah,
bitter.
mine
One
wasn't
of
either.
her famous sayings that I loved is, especially when she was complaining about my grandpa. She was like, he would get mad, he'd be yelling or whatever, and she's like, he has two jobs. Of course, she was telling me in Spanish. But she's like, he has two jobs: to get mad and get over it. So she left no room for bitterness.
so
She was just like, whatever. I'll get over it.
Not many was bitter back in the day, though, because back in the day was different than nowadays.
Yeah.
Nowadays, everybody's trying to be the one or trying to be that person. They're not trying to help each other or something like that. Like, for example, how can I put this? How I can say how my predicament in the music industry. Nobody wants to help each other. Everybody's trying to be better than this other person, but if everybody comes together as a community, like if everybody in Austin that does music came together, I guarantee there would be a lot of more people coming to shows and stuff like that. Because if you go to shows nowadays that somebody just throwing, like, say for example, we throw a show or something like that, it might be a couple of people, but it's so many people out there that's like, nah, I don't want to go to this show because he either does something better than me or doesn't do it better than me, or I don't have what he have, or I don't have what she has, or something like that. So it's more of nobody wants to help nobody nowadays. Not saying not everybody, but more of the percentage than back in the day. Because like my grandma back in the day, she helped everybody in the family. You need a house to stay at? Come on over. Come on over. Come on over. Can you do that nowadays? Like, think about that. Like, you really cannot do that nowadays. If you really go to somebody, hey, can I come over there and chill for like a month or so? I just got kicked out of the house. I'm like, shh. Yeah. You better go do something else, you know what I'm saying? But that's how it is now. It's kind of hard to get from back in the day to now. It's a whole different game, ball game.
It's so true. One thing to highlight that you said is that, there's so many people that are they throw events, they are promoters, right? And people won't come or whatever, and they get mad bitter over that, and they think that they're the only one. I want to be like, bro,
you're not the only one.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
Like, I could say this because I've lived here my whole entire life growing up, right? I told everybody to turn their phone off, and I was the only one who forgot to do it. So, I'm gonna tell you the reason why.
You're bitter.
I'm gonna tell you the reason why no one helps each other, kind of like that, and no one really. There's a thing on that in Austin, Texas, like a huge thing on that. And I believe that one of the reasons why is because no one has came out of Austin like that, especially when it comes to hip hop. No one has really like branded Austin on their chest, and so no one is willing to let the other one possibly get
be that one.
Yeah.
But if you can help that one be the one, you can be the one with them later on in the road.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, this is how it goes, bro.
But that's a really good one that you bring up, is that can make you bitter. Because, that's such a good one. That's such a good one, because I will tell you, I'm going to confess something, really. So many people watch the show. Like, we can get one video and it could be 3,000 just on Facebook alone, right? Not to mention TV, not to mention podcasts, right? But the thing is that my peeps won't really like it. Like, they won't press the like button. Not like that. Some do, don't get me wrong. But what hurts me is I'll go out and about and they're like, yo, I appreciate what you're doing. We really need for what you're doing. Thank you for giving people a voice. But inside, deep down inside, I'm like,
the story you're telling yourself
I'm thinking like, did you know that if you liked my post or even shared it, that someone else would get an opportunity to be impacted by what we're doing?
Yeah.
But you don't. And so many times I've wanted to even the bitterness and be like, yo, forget it. And God's like, you are eyes on me. Were you doing it for them? Because if I do it for people when they turn on me, because people do turn on you.
Oh, yeah, they do.
You're going to fall apart. And so when they lift you up, you get so happy. And when they drop you, you get so sad. So it's not even about that anymore. It's about running the play, right? That's right in front of you.
Yeah.
How many artists get so bitter that they never made it on TMZ? We had this conversation at the radio station.
TMZ?
I'm just saying famous,
Oh,
you
I
know?
don't want to be on TMZ. Like, no drama TMZ.
No, I'm just saying they're not famous.
Yeah,
How is it possible? Think of all the rappers and singers that you know.
Yeah.
How is it possible? Like, only like a handful. We got our Beyonce, we got our Rihanna. It's not like that. So all these people are being sold an image, and when they don't live up to it, they feel like life has their failed life.
Yeah.
Right? But like a gentleman, there's a guy, Saul Paul, right? He takes his own brand, just like I said, you don't have to, do something right then and there. Like, he's in his own lane. You can be successful, is what I'm trying to say. You could be successful without having to be on TMZ, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Very well. Living a life that provides for yourself, your family. Houston has millionaires that never leave Houston.
Yeah.
We had that conversation, right? And so you have all these people that are bitter because they never made it to Coachella, but we need people who are performing at the clubs. We need people performing at the schools. We need people performing at the churches. We need people performing at the festivals. And if you don't keep your eyes on that, you're going to get bitter and tap out.
Yeah.
And some of you need to get a job because you are literally...
I think it's okay for some artists who want to who just love it for it to be a hobby.
Yeah.
It's okay to be a hobby. Now, if you're going to do it professionally and this is what you want to do, then that's another story. Like you said, like, why you do the show. You purposely do the show for a specific reason. Like, you feel like this is part of your calling, part of your purpose. This is the season you're in. And I think that's what it takes to thrive as an artist and really in anything. Like, you have to be self-motivated because looking at other people for help, it's just, like you said, they may be flaky. They may say yes one day and no one day. And then when that happens, like, you don't have anybody. But I think we should, like, let people know. I think that's what's, like, not to divert, but artistry has been taken out of schools. Like, arts has been taken out of schools.
Yeah.
And so there really isn't the training for everyone to become artists, for everyone to think artistically and creatively, and for having all those other spaces to where, you know what, maybe you are a businessman, but you love playing the guitar.
Yeah.
I think that's okay. I don't think it should be like, I have to choose between the two.
Yeah.
And I think I'm kind of veering off.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
But that's where I think it's really important also to be super in tune spiritually, because what you want might not be what you were designed to do. Like, straight up, like, even I've done hip hop my whole entire life, and all I wanted to do was be a hip hop artist, right? But where am I excelling? As being a host, for Meeting of the Minds. But I'm doing what God is telling me to do, even though I'm itching to do something else.
Yeah.
And so it's so important to be spiritual, because you might be missing the area that you can be successful in because you're doing what you think that you want to do, that you like so much, and not making it a hobby, like you said. Because maybe you were designed to have what you love as a hobby.
Yeah.
And people just, because they're not so spiritually in tune, they'll literally have their kids, like, not eating because I'm about to be the next rapper. And the wife just doing it all, alone on their own. Like, no, bro, like, that's not cool.
No, bro. Yeah.
Staying all night out with your boys because I have to hit the studio. You might want to rethink that, dude.
Yeah.
And they go to the studio and it's like rinky dink. No, we're not even going to go there. No. But what I'm trying to say is that you have to analyze that because it will produce bitterness inside of you.
Yeah.
Because you had an expectation that wasn't even real.
Yeah.
And you should you need to get with some people that are really close to you and let them listen to your music. And if they're not,
tell the truth.
If they're not, if they don't sing your music like that, or if they if they're quiet and they nodding their head, or like not even nodding to the music, like they don't want to hurt your feelings, you got to pay attention to like how people are responding to your music. If people are like, yo, this is banging, I love this, then analyze that. Don't fool yourself. Don't play yourself. Do not play yourself. If they don't want to play it without you around, Don't play yourself.
Oh,
Yeah.
Real talk.
yeah.
You know, because people don't want to accept the truth. Like, you have to accept that at some point. No. And then there are people that, you know, they were, I myself, my skill was one way a long time ago.
Yeah.
It needed super duper duper perfecting. And as I kept doing it, it perfected itself. But there's also, when it's like that, you know, you got to manage your life as well. Spiritually, you're never going to get a spiritual email that tells you to, like, leave all this stuff unhandled just for you to focus on like that. I don't buy that. Sorry. Like, neglect all your responsibilities. Spiritual is about order and taking care of your responsibilities.
Taking care of it.
Oh, sorry. I touched the mic again, Charles. Sorry. Get better, not bitter.
Yes.
Wash it off as fast as you can.
Yeah.
If you've been wearing it, take a bath, take a shower, and make a decision. I'm going to learn how to get it off of me. If you have to study, if you got to watch YouTube video after YouTube video, if you have to find uplifting music, if you have to read, man, when they made Audible and put books on, when they put books on, like, audio,
That was
Oh, yeah.
that's it. I was like 4 books a month. Like, they should have never put books on audio,
Yeah.
No.
right? Like, if you're gonna feed yourself entertainment, feed yourself the same amount of education to better yourself. Nothing wrong with entertainment, but if you're gonna spend an hour watching Empire, spend an hour pouring into yourself also, you know? And because you don't want to live your entire life with that bitterness on you. I've seen people live their life so angry. It bleeds into your relationships romantically. It bleeds into your relationship with your children, how you treat your children. It makes you cynical about everything. Nobody wants to hang out with you. And you're like, see, people always do this. No, bro. You always
You're
do
doing
this.
something for them to be like that.
If everybody like scoots away from you, it's not that they don't want to be around you. They do want to be around you, but they can't. You're like a porcupine. It's like trying to give a porcupine a hug.
You don't want to do that.
Stuck.
Yeah.
It hurts. You know, like I try to give a porcupine a hug and it sticks me with a needle every time I go to hug it. And you're like, okay, porcupines don't like hugs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything else?
No. I think you said it all. I think you said it all. Porcupines.
The porcupine
Porcupines
one.
don't like hugs. I really hope that we covered everything. I'm sure that we didn't because it's just such an extensive topic. You know, it'll make you start drugs and alcohol. Like, it'll
Yeah.
make you, like, have substance abuse bitterness.
Yeah.
Because you can't let go of what happened to you. So you'll numb the pain, and then it comes right back again, you know?
Yes.
You'll try to drink it to heal it, and then as soon as you're sober, there it is again. Hello.
So May is Mental Health Awareness Month.
Yeah?
Yeah. And so I think this kind of goes in line. Just because I feel like bitterness is part of your thoughts. And bitterness, I don't feel like bitterness comes alone. You know, sometimes there's, like we talked about, wounds. And so figuring out what that wound is and then getting help. You know, sometimes, like I said, it's like you want to tell your friend, but sometimes your friend's not equipped to do that. Your friend is equipped to be a friend.
Yeah.
So it's important to accept whatever the wound was or
Yeah.
acknowledge it and then maybe seek professional help. But for some people who are just like already on the verge of like, okay, I've been living through this, it's like, no, it's just time to let it go.
Yeah.
It just depends on what stage you're at in your bitterness.
For sure. If you can get professional help, do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Definitely. I recommend it. Don't live like this forever. People are depending on you.
Life's too short.
And life is too short. We'll end it on that. So I would like to thank our guests for being here. Thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for this dialogue. I hope that it reached plenty of people. If you're listening to it on YouTube, if you're listening via podcast, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you feel like this topic can affect someone, share it with them. Send it to them. If you're like, oh, I know somebody, send it to them. This could really, really set them free. Or it could, like,
really
you know,
could.
say what you can't say. Also, feel free to visit our website if you'd like, meetingoftheminds.com. That's with the Z, Meeting of the Minds. And you can be a guest on the show. You can come up with topics. There's videos for you to stream, so feel free to visit that. I'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Bprint, for creating that website. Also, thank you so much to Syntex Guns, the only black gun store in Texas, which is in Austin. Plug, y'all need to know. Yeah, visit it. Pew pew, definitely. Also, let's see. I'm not really a sponsor, but shout out to my Sifu.
What is Sifu?
Sifu is a martial arts teacher.
Oh, okay.
You need to hook me up with that, bro.
Yeah.
Learn some kung fu.
There's one more sponsor that I'm supposed to be adding to the equation, and I forgot. I always do this, but it's okay. So I know Beautiful Solutions. Thank you so much for beautifying your girl. That's definitely one. But I'll do better. We have another new sponsor. It's just not coming to my mind. Thank you so much for listening, and see you next time.
Intellectually engaging to think outside the lines with conversation about the nation that never leaves you blind. Take a listen and pay attention. Here is where you find the educational, sensational meeting of the minds. Yeah, it's the meeting of the minds. Meeting of the minds.